Her response to his compliment left him speechless. Alien princess story. The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky, each one like a distant jewel scattered across a velvet cloth. Captain Ethan Carver leaned back in his ship's pilot seat, staring at the swirling galaxy below. He had traveled further than most humans had dared, crossing star systems that few had ever mapped. And yet the planet ahead, Zithra, filled him with a strange mixture of excitement and unease. It was not just another diplomatic mission. This time, he would meet Princess Lyria, the heir to one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, a species that was known to be cautious, intelligent, and sometimes untrusting of outsiders. Ethan adjusted the controls of his sleek human vessel, which hummed softly under his hands. The ship was small but agile, designed for speed and maneuverability. He had chosen it for this mission deliberately. Zithra's crystalline atmosphere made large ships difficult to navigate. As he descended into the planet's orbit, the bioluminescent forests below shimmered in shades of green, blue, and violet, casting a surreal glow across the landscape. Even from this distance, the beauty of the planet was breathtaking. When the landing gear touched the ground, Ethan felt the subtle vibration of the crystalline surface beneath his feet. Zithra was unlike anything he had ever walked on. The air was thick with faint, sweet scents, and the light around him seemed to pulse gently as though the planet itself were alive. He stepped out, taking a deep breath. Humans had been called many things in the galaxy: resilient, reckless, brave, but this mission required more than courage. It required intelligence, tact, and patience. A figure approached from the glowing forest. Tall, graceful, with skin that shimmered faintly under the bioluminescent light, Princess Lyria moved with a fluid elegance that seemed almost unnatural. Her eyes, large and luminous, studied Ethan carefully. There was no immediate warmth in her gaze, only an intense curiosity. She had the ability to sense truth in the minds of others, a trait that made deception nearly impossible. "Captain Carver," she said, her voice melodic yet firm, "I have been expecting you. I hope my presence will be of benefit to your people and our alliance." Her tone was not insulting, but it carried the weight of an unspoken challenge. He realized immediately that this was no ordinary diplomacy. Words would matter here, and so would actions. He followed Lyria through the crystalline city. Towering structures of pure, translucent material glowed softly from within, and bridges made of solid light connected buildings that floated above the ground. The streets were quiet, almost eerily so, with citizens moving gracefully through their daily routines. There was no rush, no noise, only a calm efficiency that reminded Ethan of a well-oiled machine. Humans had cities, of course, but nothing like this. Zithra was beautiful, and it seemed to thrive without chaos or conflict. They reached a large chamber filled with softly glowing crystals that pulsed like a heartbeat. Lyria gestured for Ethan to sit. "Tell me," she said, "what is it that humans find so remarkable about themselves? You travel across galaxies, encounter strange species, yet you remain so determined. What is your secret?" It was not a question he had been asked before, at least not in this way. Humans often boasted of their intelligence, their creativity, their resilience, but here, in the presence of a princess who could likely see the truth behind his words, he knew that honesty mattered more than pride. "We survive," he said carefully. "Not because we are the strongest or the fastest, but because we find ways to endure. We adapt, we care for each other. And sometimes, we do things that others might call impossible. That is how humanity continues, even against overwhelming odds." "You speak with sincerity," she said. "Few do. Many claim strength, but it is rare to see it reflected in truth." They continued through the city, Lyria showing him the various technologies of her people. Energy grids that ran silently through crystal conduits, vehicles that floated effortlessly on beams of light, and communication devices that translated thought directly into speech. Ethan observed quietly, asking questions that were simple but thoughtful. Each question, Lyria noted, reflected a human curiosity that was both relentless and respectful. After hours of exploration, they reached a terrace that overlooked a vast forest of bioluminescent trees. Ethan had walked through many alien worlds, but nothing compared to this. The light danced across the foliage like a living river, and the air carried a faint melody that seemed to come from the planet itself. Lyria gestured for him to sit beside her. "Captain," she said softly, "you have a way of observing that is unusual for humans. Most focus on survival, on immediate needs. You notice patterns, details, and possibilities. Why is that?" Then she spoke, and her words struck him more profoundly than any weapon could have. "It is true. Humans have a mind that others often underestimate. Many species judge you by appearances, by size or strength, but you possess a clarity of thought and a determination that can change outcomes where others fail. It is impressive." He had expected compliments before, perhaps polite ones from other species, but not like this. There was no flattery, no superficial charm. It was a statement of fact given by someone whose judgment was precise and rarely swayed. For a moment he had no words. His mind raced, searching for a fitting reply, but none seemed adequate. Instead, he nodded slowly. "Thank you, Princess. That means more than I can say." A small drone, sent by Zitharan authorities, hovered beside them. "Princess Lyria, Captain Carver," it said in a neutral tone. "Incoming transmission from the Council. Immediate attention requested." Inside the council chamber, a holographic display showed maps of neighboring star systems. Lyria approached the center and gestured for Ethan to observe. "The galaxy is not as peaceful as it seems," she said. "There are factions, some who do not welcome the presence of humans among the stars. Our alliance is new, and it is fragile. We must ensure it endures. Together, we can strengthen this bond. It is refreshing and rare." As the council session began, he realized that this mission would not just test his skills in diplomacy and strategy. It would test the very essence of what it meant to be human among the stars. Princess Lyria had already shown him that she saw beyond appearances, beyond culture, to the core of a person's spirit. And that recognition, he knew, was a rare gift. Outside, the bioluminescent forests glowed softly in the twilight. Ethan took one last glance before stepping fully into the council chamber. He understood that this mission, this encounter, might change the course of human history in the galaxy. And somehow, he felt ready. For the first time among strangers, among beings whose technology and minds surpassed humanity in ways that were almost incomprehensible, Ethan felt a quiet certainty. Humans might be young, unpredictable, and sometimes underestimated, but they possessed something that few others did: the determination to endure, the courage to act, and the ability to think beyond the obvious. And Princess Lyria had already seen it. Her response to his simple compliment had left him speechless, yes, but it had also opened a door to understanding, to alliance, and perhaps to a friendship that could span the stars. The first step of his journey had been taken. And for the first time in his life, Captain Ethan Carver understood the weight of possibility that lay before him, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. The council chamber hummed softly with the glow of holographic displays. Ethan Carver moved carefully among the alien delegates, noting how each Zitharan observed him with a mixture of curiosity and measured caution. Their eyes were sharp, almost piercing, and he had learned by now that nothing went unnoticed in this city of crystal. Every movement, every expression, even the subtlest hesitation was observed and analyzed. Princess Lyria stood at the center of the chamber, her luminous skin reflecting the pale glow of the crystal walls. She gestured toward a floating display that mapped neighboring star systems and the movements of fleets. "Captain Carver," she said, "we face growing tension along our borders. Some systems question our alliances. Others seek advantage in the confusion. Your people have experience navigating uncertainty. We need your insight." He approached the display, letting his fingers hover over the floating holograms. From what I can see, he said, there are patterns in these movements. Some are opportunistic, some are aggressive. The key is predicting who will act first and who can be persuaded with diplomacy. It's always about reading intent, not just strength. She had expected calculations, strategies, perhaps some analysis based on numbers and probabilities. But Ethan spoke in a way that suggested he saw the bigger picture. She found it refreshing, even rare among humans she had studied. "Then you understand," she said, "that our alliance is fragile. We cannot afford mistakes. Some may wish to provoke us to see if we can be challenged, tested, or even broken. The human's reputation for endurance may be what preserves this alliance. I can offer plans, suggest contingencies, and help anticipate moves by factions that may not expect a human perspective. I try to." Whispers behind hands, fleeting glances, and the faintest hesitation when Lyria proposed measures, it all suggested that some factions were not aligned with her vision. During a brief recess, Lyria walked with Ethan through the chamber's balcony, which overlooked the glowing gardens below. "I see you have noticed them," she said. "Not all of our people agree with my leadership. Some see humans as unpredictable allies, others as a threat to their influence. It is not uncommon for new alliances to be questioned, but we must act carefully. I see you understand more than most. Humans have a gift for observing what others miss. It is admirable. They are probing our defenses. It could be a diversion or the beginning of something more serious. If we can predict their movements and force them into a position we control, we can defend the city efficiently, without exposing any weaknesses. We humans have had to survive by thinking quickly and acting decisively. That experience can be useful, even here. And maintain observation from the outer perimeter." Using small adjustments and unconventional thinking, he found gaps in their calculations that allowed Zitharan defenses to maximize efficiency without waste. As the rogue vessels drew closer, Ethan directed the city's defense from the holographic console. With precise timing, he coordinated energy shields and interceptor drones to force the enemy into controlled zones. The attackers, expecting standard responses, were caught off guard by the subtle deviations in strategy. From the terrace above, Lyria watched silently, her mind assessing not just the outcomes but the thought process behind them. When the skirmish ended, the rogue vessels retreated without causing serious damage. Zithara had defended itself with minimal risk, and much of the credit, she realized, belonged to the human captain. Later, in the quiet aftermath, Lyria approached Ethan in the gardens once more. The glowing plants reflected in her eyes and her expression was unreadable. "You have done well," she said, "not just in strategy but in understanding. You saw the situation, anticipated moves, and acted with restraint. That is rare. You speak of teamwork, yet I sense a quiet confidence that underlies your words. It is intriguing." He realized that in her society, praise was not given lightly. It was reserved for those who truly earned it. As night fell over Zithara, the city shimmered like a constellation brought to life. Ethan and Lyria walked among the floating gardens, exchanging stories of their worlds. He spoke of human history, of the struggles and triumphs that had shaped their civilization. She shared insights into Zitharan culture, their values, and their methods of leadership. For the first time, Ethan felt that he was not merely a guest or diplomat, but someone who could connect across species in a meaningful way. Yet, even in these moments of calm, Ethan sensed that challenges remained. The rogue vessels were only a symptom of greater unrest. Political intrigue simmered beneath the surface, and not all factions within Zithara supported the alliance with humans. He knew that his role would extend beyond diplomacy and defense. It would require understanding, persuasion, and at times, sheer ingenuity to navigate the subtle complexities of alien politics. Lyria paused at a bridge of light that arched over a stream of glowing energy. "Captain Carver," she said softly, "your presence here has already made a difference. You have shown that humans can be more than what others expect. That is powerful. That is our nature. You may yet surprise the galaxy more than you know. The rest of the night passed with careful planning for upcoming negotiations and discussions of security measures. Ethan worked closely with Lyria and her advisors, offering human perspectives that were practical yet unpredictable in their originality. He realized that in this world, creativity was as valuable as strength, and adaptability could shift the balance of power more than fleets or weapons. As dawn approached, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold, Ethan stepped out onto another terrace, watching the bioluminescent forests below. He felt a quiet determination settle in his chest. Humanity had long been underestimated, and yet even here, among stars and civilizations older and wiser than their own, humans had something uniquely valuable: the ability to endure, adapt, and inspire. Princess Lyria joined him, standing silently at his side. Neither spoke immediately. The soft glow of the city reflected on their faces, and for a moment the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Finally, she said, "Captain Carver, I believe our paths will cross many times more, and I look forward to seeing how your people rise to the challenges ahead." As do I. But Ethan felt ready. Humanity had been tested before, and it had always endured. Among the stars, with allies like Princess Lyria, he realized that humans had the potential not only to survive but to thrive. And for the first time, he allowed himself to hope that perhaps, in this vast galaxy, humans might become something more than they had ever imagined. The morning sun bathed Zithra in a soft golden glow, making the crystalline city shimmer like a field of stars brought to the ground. Captain Ethan Carver walked along one of the suspended bridges, the light filtering through the transparent structures beneath him. He was deep in thought. The events of the previous day had left a strong impression. Not only the rogue vessel attack, but Princess Lyria's words, which had reminded him that human qualities mattered even in a galaxy filled with advanced civilizations. As he approached the royal gardens, he saw Lyria waiting for him. She had chosen a secluded area, far from the council chambers, where the light from the bioluminescent flora bathed the surroundings in soft blues and greens. Her expression was calm, but there was an intensity in her eyes that Ethan had come to recognize as a mark of her thoughtfulness. "Captain Carver," she said, her voice steady, "we have received intelligence that suggests a group within Zithra may be planning to undermine our alliance. They fear that humans will gain influence among the council and challenge their control. We need to understand who they are, what motivates them, and what leverage they believe they hold. That way, we can prevent conflict before it begins. You notice patterns that others overlook. Perhaps you can help me." Humans excel at reading intentions behind actions. A slight hesitation in a delegate's tone, a glance exchanged behind a hand, a carefully worded statement that contradicted an earlier claim, all these details formed a pattern in his mind. By evening, he had identified a faction that seemed to be organizing behind the scenes. They were influential and had connections to key trading partners and fleets outside Zithra. They were not violent, not yet, but their intention to undermine the princess and resist human involvement was clear. "This is delicate," Ethan said as he and Lyria stood on a terrace overlooking the city. "We cannot confront them directly without risking escalation, but we can influence outcomes by exposing contradictions and encouraging transparency. People often act in their own self-interest, and if we can make the consequences of their actions clear, they may choose cooperation instead of conflict. Humans have had to survive by using their minds when force alone is not enough. It seems to work even here." The message revealed that a small group of Zitharan delegates was planning to leak false information about trade negotiations, hoping to sow distrust between humans and Zithra. "This confirms our suspicions," Ethan said quietly to Lyria. "We need to act carefully. If they believe their plan is working, they will become bolder." But if we show that we understand the truth, they may reconsider. They used the council meetings to ask pointed questions, bringing inconsistencies to light without directly accusing anyone. They created situations where the truth would reveal itself naturally. Citizens and lesser delegates began noticing discrepancies, and murmurs of doubt spread quietly through the chambers. Throughout this time, Ethan noticed something unexpected. Princess Lyria, despite her regal composure, often turned to him for insight, for his assessment of human behavior, and even for advice on subtle social interactions. It was unusual for a leader of her caliber to rely so openly on a guest, yet she did. It was a mark of trust, and Ethan felt the weight of it deeply. One evening, after a particularly tense council session, they walked together in the glowing gardens. Ethan was tired, but his mind remained alert. Lyria spoke first. "Captain, I admire how your mind works. Humans often speak of courage, but you show that understanding and insight can be just as powerful, even more so sometimes. That is something our people rarely recognize in others. It seems that today, those skills help prevent a much larger conflict." A small fleet of unidentified ships had appeared at the edge of Zitharan space. They moved cautiously, as if testing the city's defenses. Ethan's heart raced. The rogue vessels had returned, and this time they were not alone. "Princess," he said, "we must act quickly. These ships are likely scouting for weaknesses. If they perceive internal instability, they may attempt an attack." The aliens' technology was superior, but it relied on predictability. Ethan introduced small, unexpected variables, forcing the enemy to react to moves they had not anticipated. The confrontation was brief but tense. The enemy fleet withdrew, unable to find a clear path through the city's defenses. Zithra had been protected, and the princess's authority remained unchallenged. After the skirmish, Lyria approached Ethan in the gardens, her expression unreadable at first. Then she spoke softly. "You have done more than protect the city. You have demonstrated that humans are not just survivors. They are innovators, thinkers, and problem solvers. That is why I trust you." It was one thing to succeed in strategy. It was another to earn the trust of a leader whose judgment was unflinching and exacting. "Thank you, Princess. It is an honor to serve." Yet here you are, proving that courage combined with intellect can shape events in ways that even the most advanced technology cannot. That is powerful. He understood that her words were not casual praise. They were acknowledgement of human potential, of qualities that were often overlooked but that mattered immensely among the stars. Over the next few days, Ethan and Lyria continued their work, strengthening the city's defenses, monitoring internal political dynamics, and preparing for the upcoming trade summit. Their collaboration became seamless. Where Lyria provided insight into Zitharan society, Ethan provided strategies rooted in human reasoning. Together, they navigated the subtle complexities of alien politics, preventing conflicts from escalating and ensuring the city remained stable. Ethan began to notice subtle changes in Lyria's demeanor. She was still regal and composed, but there were moments of openness, of curiosity, and even humor when she interacted with him. It was a reminder that trust and respect could form across species, and that human qualities, honesty, adaptability, and courage, could resonate even in societies far older and wiser than their own. One evening, as they walked through a grove of glowing trees, Lyria stopped and looked at him. "Captain, you have exceeded all expectations, not just in action but in understanding. You see what others overlook, anticipate what others ignore, and act with integrity. That is rare, even among humans. Humans have faced impossible challenges before, and we survive by using every tool we have: our minds, our courage, our compassion. It seems those qualities are not just useful on Earth, but across the stars as well. You understand more than most beings I have met, and that understanding gives you power. That is why I value your presence here. That is why your people matter." Recognition from Princess Lyria was more than personal. It was a testament to humanity's potential, a validation that even in a galaxy of advanced civilizations, humans could shine through courage, intelligence, and integrity. As they continued their walk, Ethan realized that the mission had evolved beyond diplomacy and strategy. It had become a collaboration between species, a meeting of minds, and an exploration of what humans could offer to the galaxy. And he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humans would rise to meet them, not just because of strength or technology, but because of qualities that no alien civilization could replicate: ingenuity, adaptability, and the courage to act with both heart and mind. The stars above Zithra glimmered, distant yet inviting, and in that moment, Ethan understood that the journey was far from over. New challenges would arise, alliances would be tested, and the galaxy would present dangers no one could fully predict. But he also knew that humanity had something unique to offer. Even in the presence of beings far older and wiser, humans could make a difference, could inspire trust, and could achieve what others deemed impossible. And with Princess Lyria by his side, he felt a quiet certainty. Together, human ingenuity and Zithran wisdom could overcome obstacles that neither could face alone. For the first time, Ethan Carver allowed himself to imagine a future in which humans were not merely participants in the galaxy but active shapers of it. And he felt ready for whatever came next. The sun rose over Zithra, casting golden light across the crystalline towers and the glowing forests below. Captain Ethan Carver stood on a terrace overlooking the city, taking in the beauty and serenity that seemed almost untouched by the galaxy's chaos. Yet he knew better. The threats he had faced with Princess Lyria were only a glimpse of what the galaxy could throw at them. Political intrigue, rival fleets, and the subtle manipulations of ambitious factions had tested their resolve. But today, the culmination of their efforts would be on display. The trade summit was to be held in the city's Grand Hall, a vast chamber of translucent crystal that sparkled with an inner light. Delegates from dozens of star systems arrived, their diverse forms and cultures filling the space with color and movement. Humans were still rare in these circles, and Ethan could sense the curiosity, and sometimes the skepticism of those around him. He adjusted his uniform, straightened his posture, and reminded himself that human qualities, integrity, ingenuity, and courage, were just as important as diplomacy. Princess Lyria arrived shortly after, her presence commanding the attention of all in the hall. She moved with her usual grace, yet her eyes found Ethan's across the room. There was a quiet understanding between them, a shared recognition of what had been accomplished and what was at stake. Together, they would face this challenge. As the summit began, Ethan noticed subtle signs of tension. Some Zithran delegates had been influenced by the faction that opposed Lyria's alliance with humans. Their voices were calm, their questions polite, but their intent was clear. They sought to create doubt, to test whether humans and Zithra could truly work together. Ethan leaned toward Lyria as the first debate began. "Watch for patterns," he whispered. "They will try to lead with distraction, then push an agenda subtly. The key is to remain calm and respond with clarity. Focus on facts, not emotion." Hours passed in intense discussion, negotiation, and delicate maneuvering. Delegates presented proposals, counter-proposals, and challenges. Ethan's human perspective proved invaluable. He noticed small inconsistencies, subtle manipulations, and indirect attempts to sway opinions. Using careful questions and pointed observations, he guided the conversation without confrontation, allowing the truth to reveal itself naturally. By midday, the tide had turned. Delegates who had sought to undermine the summit began to lose influence as inconsistencies in their statements became clear. Zitharan citizens and neutral parties started to notice, quietly supporting Lyria's leadership and the alliance with humans. It was a slow, careful process, but the result was undeniable. Reason and truth prevailed over manipulation. After the summit, Lyria and Ethan stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the glowing city. A gentle breeze carried the soft scent of the bioluminescent gardens, and the distant hum of the city's energy grids filled the air. "You have done more than I expected, Captain Carver," Lyria said softly. "Not only in strategy and insight, but in showing the galaxy what humans are capable of. You have demonstrated that courage and intellect together can overcome even subtle and complex threats. Your people have qualities that others underestimate. Your presence has shifted perceptions, not through power or weapons, but through clarity, honesty, and courage. That is why I value this alliance so much. That is why I trust you." He realized that the mission had become about more than diplomacy. It had become about recognition of humanity's potential, of qualities that could inspire respect even among civilizations far older and more advanced. As the evening descended, the city glowed like a constellation. Ethan and Lyria walked through the floating gardens, the soft light reflecting off crystalline structures and the bioluminescent plants. They paused at a bridge of light spanning a gentle stream. "Captain," Lyria said, her voice thoughtful, "your presence here has shown me that alliances are not only about politics or trade. They are about understanding and respect. Humanity has earned that understanding, and in doing so, you have strengthened not just our relationship, but the confidence of my people in this alliance. I think that is what you have seen in me." Ethan recognized the signal immediately, a small, unmapped vessel approaching Zithara's space. Unlike the previous rogue vessels, this one moved cautiously but deliberately, as if testing defenses and gathering intelligence. "Another test," Ethan said quietly. "Perhaps one more challenge to ensure the stability of the city and the alliance." Then she said, "We are ready. Your strategy, your insight, and the preparations we have made leave us well positioned. Lead the defense, Captain, and we will observe." The alien ship, expecting standard responses, was caught off guard by the unpredictability of human strategy combined with Zitharan precision. In minutes, the vessel was forced to retreat, unable to breach the city's defenses. Lyria watched silently, then approached Ethan in the aftermath. "You have done it again," she said. "Not just in defense, but in demonstrating the power of thought, creativity, and courage. Humans possess qualities that are rare and valuable. That is why I continue to place my trust in you. Together, we make a difference." The summit had concluded successfully, the alliance strengthened, and the internal faction that had opposed Lyria's leadership had been subtly neutralized. Citizens moved through the glowing streets with a renewed sense of confidence and unity. Ethan and Lyria walked through the gardens one final time, reflecting on the days that had passed. "Captain Carver," she said, her tone gentle, "you have done more than any human has before in this galaxy. You have earned respect, influenced decisions, and proven that humans have a place among the stars not by force, but by wisdom, courage, and integrity. Humanity has always faced challenges, and we endure by using every tool we have, our minds, our courage, and our hearts. It seems that even here, those qualities are meaningful. That is why I trust you, and why I believe your people will continue to shape the galaxy in remarkable ways." It was a testament not just to his actions, but to the qualities of humanity itself, qualities that could endure, inspire, and make a difference even among the stars. As the first light of dawn touched the floating gardens, Ethan realized that this mission, this collaboration, had become more than diplomacy. It had become a testament to human potential. He thought of Earth, of the people who had struggled, dreamed, and built civilizations despite impossible odds, and he understood that those qualities, the ingenuity, resilience, and courage of humanity, were what had allowed him to succeed here, on a distant alien world. Princess Lyria stood beside him, her gaze steady and thoughtful. "Captain Carver," she said softly, "you have shown me that humanity can rise above expectations, that your people have a spirit that cannot be underestimated. You have made a difference, not just for Zithra but for all who will witness this alliance. That is a rare gift. Humans have always faced the unknown with hope and courage. It seems that even among the stars, those qualities are recognized and valued. Together, we will face whatever challenges lie ahead, and humanity will not be a mere participant in the galaxy, but a force for good, for progress, and for understanding. Yet he had learned that humans had something unique, the ability to endure, adapt, and inspire. That combination of courage, ingenuity, and integrity could create alliances, solve problems, and make a lasting impact. As Zithra glowed beneath the rising sun, Ethan and Lyria walked back toward the city, their partnership forged through trials, strategy, and mutual respect. The alliance had been tested and proven strong. The rogue factions had been neutralized, and the galaxy had seen that humans, though young, possessed qualities that could change outcomes in meaningful ways. Ethan Carver looked up at the stars above Zithra, understanding that this was only the beginning. Humanity had a place among the stars, and with courage, wisdom, and heart, they could thrive, inspire, and shape the galaxy in ways that others might never imagine. Princess Lyria glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the first rays of sunlight. "Captain," she said softly, "your people have shown us something important, that even in the vastness of the galaxy, human spirit matters. It is a reminder that hope, courage, and ingenuity are never wasted." And in that moment, Ethan Carver understood fully that humans, through their courage, intelligence, and heart, had proven themselves worthy not just of survival, but of recognition, respect, and a lasting place among the stars. The journey was far from over, but the future had never felt more possible.